Hello, everyone. This was a good week of chapters, with Sakamoto Days and One Piece being particular standouts, with One Piece having some surprising developments, and Sakamoto Days just genuinely surprising me with one in particular moment. With that being said, we're going to start off this week with One Piece, chapter 1031, and this was a very good chapter, with once again Oda's blisteringly fast pace setting the tone as we get about 4 major updates throughout the entire chapter. Starting off first with the fact that Big Mom not only survived, but has an ability to power herself up, making it that she uses 1 year of her lifespan of her soul to make herself grow bigger and stronger, which she's done, as this is the first time she's been this damaged in about a decade. Kid and Law look like they're gonna have to fight for their lives, as well as just with everything they possibly can, as Law even tried to get the secrets of what and how Kid's Devil Fruit awakening powers work. But it looks like they're in quite the predicament where things are just not going to go well for Law and Kid, with Big Mom being a genuine monster. We then get to see Apu and Drake fighting, seeing as how Drake does have some semblance of loyalty, as he deems it that him fighting Apu would still be up to the bargain he made with Straw Hat, despite him betraying Kaido. This leads to Yamato's arrival and Apu trying to recruit them, while Drake is trying to just simply survive and fight off Apu. Yamato just barges all the way through and keeps moving, wanting to get rid of all the weapons, when one of the numbers seemingly is infatuated with Yamato and starts making his move towards them. And so Apu has to round up the other 2 numbers, and so this sort of chase fight is about to begin. The third update was the fact that CP0 is on the move, and Brooke and Robin have to make a run for it to avoid them. And Robin explains that the CP0 agents with masks are amongst the most elite, meaning they might be stronger than Rob Lucci, which is a terrifying prospect, and they're just going right after Robin. So that's just another wrinkle in the madness of this battle. And the final update is Sanji beginning to change. He seemingly hit a woman, which I highly doubt is the case, as he doesn't remember what happened to her as he was running towards her. She says she's just a normal person, but next thing he remembers, she was knocked through the air and was bleeding, and then looked at him with fear. He doesn't know what happened or remember what happened, so I'm assuming either one of 2 things. One, he tried to stop, but now with his newfound power, accidentally either bumped into her, or the force of his stop, the wind, pushed her away. The other likely scenario is that someone else hit her, and Sanji's simply taking the blame as he was trying to stop. He didn't seem to know, but he's still very much affected by the fact that the Germa science has seemingly fully ingrained itself within him, and he doesn't know what he's going to become. However, he's made up his mind and destroys the raid suit, but seemingly is going to be able to keep the power that his siblings wield. He then calls up Zoro to ask Zoro to kill him if he is different than what he usually is. Zoro seemingly not really caring or understanding, and is himself more preoccupied. He simply agrees, saying not to die before he can do it himself. So the 2 of them are entering their not final stage, but the next stage of their fights, with Sanji finally doing the Hell Memories power-up he did in Fishman Island. So Sanji's powered up to the absolute upteenth degree, to the point that he might be able to genuinely fight Queen toe-to-toe. Zoro continues to fight his battle at a relatively strong pace. He's holding his own. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds, seeing as how Sanji believes he's changing where I kind of just don't. But it will be curious to see what the truth ends up being in the end. So overall, I'll give that chapter an A. I thought it was very good, getting these many updates as Oda's pace continues to rapidly push forward. I think the most intriguing bits were Big Mom powering up again because she's in a more desperate situation than I think she thought she would be in here, and the Robin and Brooke running away from CP0. I thought those two were very intriguing simply because CP0 is finally making its move. Sanji's dilemma should be resolved relatively quickly as it's found out it's not him, whatever. And the Yamato stuff should be interesting to see how that three-way battle ends up unfolding. The thing about all of this is, though, is I don't think we're going to get conclusive endings to any of these fights, as I think the island itself will either collapse fully, break apart, or explode before any final conclusions are made. So we won't get any winners until the island's destroyed. What I'm assuming is that it misses the capital, gets destroyed, falls to the earth, and then all the battles, or those who can fly, those who can save as many as they can, pretty much do. The villains save those around them, and some of the injured probably end up dead, but whatever happens, it'll happen on the wasteland right before the flower capital. Probably on the graveyard of the leftover town that was destroyed because they felt that they were hiding the food that was stolen. This will probably spark the final moments of the fight, maybe lead to the eventual final act, or the second to final act of this story, or something else that'll surprise everyone. But so far, these fights won't have an ending, is what I'm predicting in this scenario. So now we're on to Black Clover, chapter 312, and this was another good chapter, showing the bulk of the Black Bulls, the ones who are in the building, storming the castle, destroying most of what was there, and fighting the doctor who has Lucifero, and trying to win to rescue Yami. And we see pretty much every Black Bulls member that hasn't been a part of this arc so far, and what their power-ups are, from Ray having fortification magic, that she can change the absolute property of another's magic instead of just changing its appearance, to Ghosh being able to trust in others and use his ability to help Gray, to showing Gordon's training and what he can do, and Henry being able to even help out with what he can. The two of them turn their abilities into strengths, not weaknesses, using everything they can to do as much damage to the doctor as they can, punching him straight in the face because of Gordon's curse protection, and Henry still just being as powerful as he was. Then the rest of the Black Bulls finally arrive, and it looks like the battle is all but won. Will this be the end of this arc and they all rescue Yami? I don't think so. But I will be very curious to see what happens next. I'm half expecting the tree to have finally reached whatever next stage Lucifero needed, and he finally steps through, absolutely crushing everyone, or they stop it just in time, like I had sort of predicted before. So again, this was a good chapter. Overall, I think I'll give this one a B. It was good. It had some good moments for the rest of the Black Bull characters, being able to stop the doctor despite him being powered up by the devil. He still was not very powerful, despite even Lucifero agreeing that he was a more compatible host than Dante, but it looks like it doesn't matter. Dante was far superior, as the others could not do anything against the Dante, but they could beat this guy down relatively easily. I don't know how they're going to save Yami, but if they do, I'm curious to see what they do. I imagine they won't, and Lucifero will make it through, as Lucifero has one more trick up his sleeve before the end, and next week we'll either confirm or deny that claim, but I'm curious to see where it goes. Now we're on to Undead Unluck, chapter 86, and this was a good chapter, mostly centered around Ishin, seeing as how the power transferred over to the current Ishin instead of her father, despite her father being more confident. We get to see more of her backstory and why she is the way that she is. She simply lacks confidence and faith in her abilities. She's also not quite cowardly, but weak in a manner of speaking, despite being physically strong, as we find out at the end of the chapter. She is also able to turn anything into an unbreakable object as long as she's focused. We see that Spring's luck is very opportune and can strike at just about any point in time, hitting lightning at Ishin, causing her to freak out, and her unbreakable ability to falter. We see that she also has a sad backstory, with her father taking a set of her armor that she had no confidence in to fight a monster. Her father ended up dying because the armor was in fact unbreakable. However, it held just long enough for her father to win. However, it killed him in the process. Fuko, deciding to risk just about everything to win as well and put herself on the line as she always does, has it that Clothy bites her and has her blood trickle onto the battlefield to get Unluck onto Andy, showing some real control over her Unluck ability, having it that even her blood is unlucky. However, unbeknownst to her, she still can't control what Unluck thing happens, or not fully anyway, as she wanted a giant ball of hail to hit the arena, quote unquote. However, a giant meteorite showed up instead, which would have killed everyone there instead of just knocking out someone else trying to gain the advantage. Fuko then puts her trust in Ashin, as Ashin wants to make herself useful and gives her armor to Fuko, while she makes a unbreakable rock shelter for herself as well as all the money. Andy takes the blast full on, but of course he was, before being transferred back into his real self as he got a ring out. The armor held and Fuko was safe, showing that Ashin's armor is in fact unbreakable. So her faith in Ashin was able to elevate Ashin to the next level, but in the process, she lost the first game. So now she's down 1-0, and with only 2 left, she'd have to pull a clean sweep to win. Will she pull that off? Probably. I doubt they'll lose here at this point. So overall, I'll give this chapter a B. I thought it was good, getting more backstory on, again, another character, seeing that there's a continued theme of all of them having a relatively sad backstory. However, hers actually held her power back instead of elevating it. Well, I guess that's what happened with Top 2, where he held it back and then eventually he was able to get it more powerful after finally letting go of the trauma of his past. Same with Ashin. So it'll be interesting to see how the arc goes from here. Will Ashin stay with Fuko to help her, or will Ashin go back down and help some of the others in their fights, perhaps? Now we're on to Mashle, Magic and Muscles, chapter 84, and this chapter is Mashle, so it's ridiculous and entertaining, as the villains are just as quirky as the heroes. The Ice Mage on the villain side is asinine, as his whole thing is that he makes really bad puns that make people freeze up because they're so bad that you get a chill because they're awful. But he also has ice magic, so it does make sense in a way, trapping everyone there. And then there's a more or less disturbing masked guy who likes insects that explode. He sends out the insects to go kill everyone, but Mash pulls out his iron wand and is able to reshape it into something else, showing that that wand goes back to its original shape after whatever shape he uses it for before, because it went back to normal. It's either just a gag thing or it has its own magical properties. But Mash is able to shape it how he wants again and makes a pool cue, or a cue stick as it says here, and he makes up some sort of ridiculous name as he hits the giant bug that's coming towards them to kill them, and he hits it with the pool cue and sends it flying like a billiard ball, and sends it everywhere, bouncing in every which direction humanly possible, sending many of them out of the room through the many different doors they're in, because the room they're in has many different doors. His true aim was the other members of the villain team, sending them through different doors, and so once they're through, the hero team goes after many of the villains that went through the doors, leaving just the main guy with the sharp teeth there to take on Mash, and Mash has full confidence that he's going to win, just because of course he does. That's what makes Mash great. So it'll be Mash versus the sharp-teethed guy at Rose Quartz, I think it was. And that should be extremely fun. Whenever Mash goes one-on-one, especially with another arrogant character, it tends to have a more ridiculous and fun outcome, as Mash continues to push past his own abilities to take the win wherever he deems it necessary. So that was the chapter. Overall, I'll give that chapter a B. It was good. It had ridiculous moments, and Mash being both completely unbalanced and broken to the comedic relief of Mash being ridiculous. The next fight should be fairly fun, as also the other team members members are now separated, so now we'll get many different one-on-ones, where the other sides will all struggle and Mash won't, just as customary with this type of manga. Mash will probably win relatively easily before Demina shows up and causes all sorts of issues. Now we're on to Sakamoto Days, chapter 46, and this was a great chapter where we see the start and conclusion of the Nagumo versus Minimalist fight, as Nagumo is continuously messing with Minimalist the entire time, showing both his immense speed and power, showing that Minimalist had no shot at all to defeat Nagumo, showing the real difference in power there, which I think sets up quite how monstrous X must be that they're actually afraid of him, as these serial killers for a hot minute looked like genuine threats, and yet all of them have been taken out like it's nothing, as Nagumo completely destroys Minimalist without much of a fuss before downright savagely decapitating him, which I was so surprised by that they actually just showed that and destroyed the shop in the process. But I was genuinely shocked that he just decapitated him with one move. The one real offensive move Nagumo did, he destroyed Minimalist, and it was great, showing just how powerful Nagumo is, and seeing as how he used to be considerably weaker than Sakamoto, it makes you wonder how genuinely powerful Sakamoto was in his prime. Speaking of, we get the continuation of Sakamoto versus Apart, as Apart is holding his own quite a bit better than most of the other serial killers by now. However, Sakamoto doesn't seem too phased. The only thing that's bothering him is the fact that he can't seem to slim down. What I'm going to assume is that whatever the holistic doctor he went to did to him to give him a bit more athleticism is now keeping him in his fat form far longer than he thought. So now it'll be funny to see if, because he can't go into his usual skinny form, if he's going to struggle in this fight or not. For now, it looks like he's not really trying, so I wonder how actually powerful Apart is compared to the others, because he's actually holding his own, but Sakamoto probably hasn't done an actual attack yet, so that'll be what next week's chapter is, the entire fight between Apart and Sakamoto. I kind of doubt it goes multiple chapters, but you never know. So overall, I think I'll give that chapter an A. I thought the shocking moment of Minimalist being decapitated really shocked me. I was not expecting that. Having it that it was just so blatantly right there made me realize that all the other criminals are probably genuinely dead. This manga holds nothing back, and the fights are pretty incredible. So I can only imagine how it's going to go from here, especially with the Sakamoto fight, where he probably won't kill the criminal, so maybe Apart's the only one that lives, probably joining X as a wounded party that couldn't beat Sakamoto but now wants revenge, maybe. That's probably how that's going to go. X gaining all sorts of villains that keep losing to Sakamoto because Sakamoto won't kill them, and this will end up biting him in the ass more than it'll help him. But I thought the Nagumo Minimalist fight was incredible, just simply by the overpowered nature of Nagumo. It'll make it really interesting to see one day Nagumo and the rest of the top tier assassins going after whomever it is and struggling, to say the least. Now we're on to the Hunters Guild Red Hood, chapter 18, and the final chapter, which makes me sad because this manga had so much potential to it, but so much of it was wasted. So the chapter itself is the conclusion, showing that the mayor is able to really do a number on Debonair, and Grimm wants to get into the action to help save the day, and asks Cinderella to change her clock so that she can change back into her more powerful self. We then get the resolution of what Velo wants, as the original Red Hood asks him that question, because Velo had initially planned on killing himself so that the world would stop ending because of him. However, the Red Hood decides that that wouldn't work, or probably wouldn't stop what was happening, and so asks Velo what type of ending he wants, a happy one or a tragic one, and how does he want the story to end, as the mayor continues his final assault in destroying just about everything. The others arrive to help stop the mayor, stopping him from summoning other werewolves and monsters, and fighting as best they can, trying to get in the way of everything. Debonair is still fighting the mayor, and we get to see that Grimm comes to try to help Velo. Velo then gets a book gun, which is as ridiculous as it sounds, and after Cinderella helped Grimm They promised that they would fight again if they all survived this. With the new book gun he made out of the one book, the book will end up being destroyed, but it should end the mare. The Red Hood takes his hood off and gives it to Velo, saying it's now up to him to kind of dictate what's going to happen. Cinderella flies away, but sees that the whole world is coming apart at the seams, as nothing's making sense anymore. Velo then decides to shoot the mare because he believes that there shouldn't be a happy or sad ending, and that the life should just continue going on as everyone's their own main character, and that everyone just is going to live and struggle as they want to go. He plans on just trying to live, and Velo shoots and assumingly kills the mare with the gun book. And so the book is gone. The scenarios within the book are gone as well. However, things will probably continue just as they are, and it's up to Velo to try to fix things in a manner of speaking, leaving once again another story that ended prematurely open to be continued if the mangaka or Shonen Jump wanted to redo it again, as it looks like Velo is just going to travel with Grimm and do whatever to try to stop the werewolves, to stop whatever other stories that could be happening across the entirety of the world. And so ends the Hunters Guild Red Hood, a good manga that was not given enough time to live up to its potential. I thought this series had so much potential and could have been so great, even with these twists and turns and whatever, but it was never given a chance, and so it's over. Overall, I think I'll give this chapter a B. I thought for a conclusion it was fine. It defeated the main villain of this arc, because that's all this was. It was one arc. Kind of quickly and unnecessarily ending what could have been a very interesting tale to tell, but ironically, to a degree, they chose the path where Velo didn't choose what either side wanted and went his own way, which I thought was funny. But as a series as a whole, I think there was enough good in it to give the series a B, but it could not live up to the A potential I saw within it. Not every manga always has the super high potential. There's always potential to be fairly good, like some of the other ones. However, this one I thought had like a real adventure vibe that could have been pretty great, but it didn't get the time it needed. So as a series, it was good. The art was always very good. It never even had a chance to get out of that. We want to streamline the art phase, like every manga gets to. Like if you read the old Yu-Gi-Oh chapters, the art style is so vastly different to what the end product ends up being. It's almost unrecognizable, and that's what this sort of felt like. It never even transitioned over to the mainline, streamlined, efficient drawings. It never even made it there. As for the story, I thought it was good. Like I said, everything was going into a very interesting direction with some very interesting characters and character designs, but they were never fleshed out. So that's the end of that one. I think next week apparently is the end of Nero, which is a shame, as that one also had such high and lofty potential, but Shonen Jump is going to continue to struggle. So overall, this was a good week of chapters. I think, like I said, Sakamoto Days and One Piece stood out the most for me. I think Black Clover was very good. Next week should be a fairly good one. Mashle continues to be Mashle. Undead continues its streak of fairly good chapters, as its story is still ramping up to whatever thing it wants to do. Hopefully that one lasts a while. That would be pretty nice. As for the rest that I read, Nero, like I said, it was good. It's adding some level of closure, but I guarantee this one doesn't end in any conclusive way at all. If it in fact does end, which it would be a shame. The Elusive Samurai was very good, actually, with the 3 battles that were going on between the 3 enemy generals and our heroes. Ended up having quite the twist at the end that I did not see coming, where one of the generals had already lost before the other 2, meaning that it could snowball for the enemy very quickly. So it'll be up to the main character and his group to try to delay that long enough for the 2nd or even 3rd battle to win. So that was very exciting stuff. The Zakura family was very good, having it that it was another family chapter where they all grew and everyone grew closer and so on, but it hinted that something major might happen in the next chapter. Jujutsu Kaisen was good. It had a nice fight to it, and Itadori continues to struggle against this lawyer villain character. Blue Box was fine, once again, continuing with its simple romance over sport-oriented tale. And so if you like that, you should like the story. If you don't and you wanted more of the sport, you won't like Blue Box all that much. That was all of the chapters. This was, like I said, a very good week, and next week should be another good one. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and as always, thank you for watching.